morning time, good afternoon time, whatever the case may be in your part of the world. You know who it is. And we're going to have a little discussion while we're cruising down the highway. I get this question all the time. And I tell people the same thing all the time. People always ask me, I got a 750 watt motor or my stock Super 73 motor. How much power can I put through that motor? Alright, now, here's the deal. Most motors are underrated. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times when you get your factory e-bike, like your Super 73 motor or whatever, it may say 1,000 watts, and they're rating it 1,000 watts based on the output of that controller. But the actual motor itself, most motors can normally handle way over what they're rated at, as far as the spec from the factory. Even geared hub motors, okay? Now, I'd be a little easy on geared hub motors. However, you can run a lot more power through them. There's a lot of guys on Reddit and in the sphere running 72 volts through a stock Super 73 1,000 watt hub motor. It can be done. I ran 72 volts through my Zuko 750 watt geared hub motor. The only thing that happened was I didn't like the way it sounded because, you know, geared hub motors are kind of loud. And when you give them extra power because of watts, they get even louder. Not only that, geared hub motors, they're great for torque. They have a lot of torque. In fact, my Zugo was wheeling. It was power wheeling on its own with 72 volts on that stock geared hub drive. You know, but they're great for torque, but they don't have a really good top end. Direct drives are known for top end speed. That's what I ended up using on my Zugo, and that was a cheap off-brand 1,500 watt direct drive. The only thing I had to do to make that 1,500 watt motor handle more power was upgrade the phase wires. A lot of times the motor ratings, they're rated at a certain wattage because of the phase wires. Now, the only difference between the cheap direct drive 1,500 watt motor and the cheap direct drive 3,000 watt motor was the difference in phase wires. The 3,000 watt motor had I think like 10 gauge phase wires, and the 1,500 watt direct drive cheap direct drive had like 16 gauge, something like that. It was, you know, definitely the main difference was in the phase wires. I took that 1,500 watt motor and I put 10 gauge wires on it. I ran 72 volts through it, and I was able to get my Zugo up to 53 miles per hour. And if you calculate that as far as how much power I was running through that 1,500 watt motor, let's say 70 volts times my controller was 45 amps. So we're talking almost 3,500 watts I was running through a motor that was so-called rated at 1,500 watts. So, like I'm saying, a lot of motors can handle way more power than what they're rated at. And normally, the weakest links on those motors, other than the phase wires, would be the hall sensors. You know, sometimes you may have to upgrade the hall sensors as well. A lot of those cheap, I'm gonna stop calling them cheap. A lot of those inexpensive motors come with inexpensive hall sensors. And those hall sensors, they don't like a lot of heat. So when you start running more current through those motors, more current or amps produces more heat, and a lot of times that heat will knock out a hall sensor. So the motors don't fail because they burn up from too much power. You're not burning up the coils or the stator, you're knocking out the hall sensors. So if you upgrade those hall sensors as well, you're good to go. So yeah, so that being the answer to the question, when somebody says, how much power can I run through my stock motor? Quite a bit. Now, like I said, that would be the two things I would do if you're going to really try to run a great deal of power through it. Definitely upgrade those phase wires and those hall sensors, but once you do that, you should be good to go. Now, sometimes on some of those geared motors, you know, those planetary drives, they have the nylon gears, those plastic nylon gears. Sometimes they'll fail or you'll break those. So you have to see, you have to, you know, experiment and push it to its limit, see what happens. You can always replace those if they break. And if they do break, I recommend replacing them with steel gears. Now, yes, steel gears will make it a little bit noisier, but they won't break. So, you know, they come pretty cheap. I think I upgraded the gears in my direct drive. I think it cost me like $8 for a pack of steel planetary gears for my hub drive. And you know, it made it almost sound like I had a direct drive, a mid drive with a chain, because those steel gears were a little loud, but I mean, it worked. And like I say, man, that thing had hella torque, man, hella torque. So yes, if you have a 750 watt hub motor, I'd say you can definitely run 3,500 watts through it all day long. Would I run more than that? Probably so. I'd probably push it to 5,000 watts. But yes, just on a rough average, you can probably run 5 to 7 times whatever it's rated at. Now that's me saying that, you know, but yeah, from my experience, about that. Now, like I said, I had a 1,500 watt motor. I'll repeat myself again. I run 5,000 watts through that motor once I upgraded those phase wires. So, yeah, fellas, you want to do some DIY? Test the limits of your stock motor? Have at it. Do the damn thing. Alright, that's all I wanted to let y'all know. Deuces. This is a Crooked Finger production. We out. Peace.